Namaste. Peace and love, light, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today, I will be speaking to you about the truth of our oneness and our one consciousness, and the love and light that each of you bring in your own unique, joyous, and divine oneness with all that is and all that shall be eternal, here, present in the moment of now, in the blessings and the fullness of life, and the gift from our one divine Creator, from whom all blessings flow, and with whom all are one. And in this blessed oneness and this divine now, we experience our bliss by letting go and releasing all attachment from any form of suffering of the mind. And we release all ego, and we let go of our egos. We let go our ego. It's so lame. That shit. It's so easy to do. I'm not even trying. I'm driving and I'm not even trying to do it. It's so easy to do. You learn a set of vocabulary and then you just put on the right robes and stuff. I don't think anybody wants to hear some dude in a golf shirt and a soccer hat talk about love and light and peace and blessings. So all I'd have to do is put on some robes and probably put a little bit of eyeshadow on and some, like, lots of bracelets, and maybe grow my hair out a little bit and just talk about peace and love and light and blessings and goodness and oneness and divine now and joyous blessings from our one true divine Creator. And yeah, I'd probably get followers. I mean, I'm a decent looking person. I have a pretty outgoing personality. I could probably play that game. I could probably put on the flowing lobes, flowing robes, and wouldn't be too hard to do. Of course, it'd probably make me sick. I'd probably be fucking bored with it. But it is really simple. And what people don't realize is all the people who talk like that, they're just repeating a bunch of vocabulary they heard because they saw someone else doing it. And for some reason, that person attracted them because of the symbolism of what that person was presenting, the imagery. And what they don't realize is they're just using images, sound images, picture images, etc., symbols to control you because of your programming, to give them money. That's all it is. When people smile, when people put on the robes, and when they talk about love and light and all this stuff, they're just trying to get money from you. And there's nothing wrong with taking people's money, but giving them value in return is an equal exchange. So what is it that person is giving you? Look at me. I'm being illuminated by the light of God, from within as without, from above and below. As within, so without. The light emanates from me and to me. Actually, it's just the sun in my goddamn face. I am the sun eternal. No, it's just because I'm driving east. Is that right? Yeah, I'm driving east, so the sun is rising. It's not a coincidence, people. It's not synchronicity. It's just I'm driving east like I do every morning to head towards the park. But my point is, all this peace and love and light and greetings and blessings and eternal oneness and stuff, it's just fancy words that are specific images that make people feel a certain way that trigger you to give money to people. And that's why people do it, because they want money. And everybody wants money. Everyone's trying to survive in this world, so we put on certain characters and certain personalities that will give us, provide us with money. We're just playing characters. And, life is not a game, but the system that we live in is a game. And if you learn how to play it, then you'll make money and you'll survive more effectively than other people. It's no different than an actor on a stage. Like, Brad Pitt's not really like a 4-star general, right? George Clooney's not really like a convict running from the law. what's another actor? Jennifer Lawrence is not really in a dystopian world where she has to fight for survival for her district. This is just movies. They're just acting. And all these people that are channeling and doing all this stuff are just acting. It's just that some people act so well that they've convinced themselves that they're not acting. They believe what they're doing. And you believe it. And so it makes you feel a certain way because of the resonance of the words, like the way the words sound, the way they make you feel. It feels good, so you give them your money because you want them to keep making you feel good. But they don't give you a solution. They don't tell you what's the solution to why you're in a shitty situation in your life. They don't support you to become honest and actually self-aware of how you've created your life as it is, and how you've created yourself as who you are, and how we're all creating the world as it is based on who we are. No one's telling you that shit, because if they told you that shit, that wouldn't make you feel good, would it? So you wouldn't give them money. So I'll tell you the truth, because the thing is, I actually have the solution to supporting you to become more effective and more self-aware. And I'll sell it to you if you want. But if you're not ready for that, that's fine too. It doesn't really matter to me where you are, because somebody else will come along and they'll actually want to change. And I'll show you how to do it, because that's what I've been doing for many years now. And it is a process to do, but it's worth it if you're actually interested in becoming more self-aware. And I'm not talking about enlightenment. Like, I'm not going to show anybody how to become enlightened, because enlightenment is just bullshit. It's easy to it's bullshit. It's just a state of feeling. It's a state where you convince yourself that you're enlightened. Think about it. Study Zen masters. What do they tell you? Like, I've actually studied Zen Buddhism, and if you actually study it, all they tell you is, like, the moment that you realize there is no enlightenment, then you become enlightened. It's like the moment you've convinced yourself that you don't know anything whatsoever, and there's no meaning to anything, and all suffering is just basically not thinking from the perspective of not thinking about the fact that you're not enlightened. If you stop thinking that you're not enlightened, and you just start realizing you're enlightened, then you become enlightened. And you know, what happens is you build up this whole mind construct around it, where the achievement of enlightenment feels really good. And so once you achieve it, you feel really good. But that's it. But then what? Okay, let's just say for a moment that you achieve enlightenment and you feel amazing and fantastic. Then what would you do? See, I'm being enlightened right now. Oh, and now I'm not enlightened. See, it comes and goes. It comes in waves. Sometimes you're enlightened. Sometimes you're not enlightened. Sometimes you feel good. Sometimes you don't feel good. That's because we live in a system based on... Oh, there we go. I'm enlightened now. See it? Look at my face. That's the radiance of the true enlightenment. My point is, we live in a system based on polarity of good and bad, positive and negative, good and evil. The tree of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was the original sin. Think about it. The original sin was polarity. The original sin was participating in good and bad. There actually is no such thing as good and bad. There's only what's best and what's not best. That's the only real polarity that exists. It's not even a polarity, actually. It's just a decision to either be the best in the moment or to be less than the best. Either equal to what is best or less than what is best. That's the only choice. Any other choice between good and bad is a false choice, because good and bad is based on the symbols and the images that you've learned from childhood. So, for example, if you grow up in a Hindu society, there's a certain definition of what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. If you grow up in American society, there's a certain definition of what's good and bad, right and wrong. Same with the Muslim society, same with the Chinese culture. Every culture has its own definition of what's good and bad, right and wrong. And you're imprinted with that programming, and you're imprinted with guilt for doing things that are bad, even though a lot of times the bad things are what you actually want to do. So you are controlled through guilt to avoid the bad and try to strive for the good. But even the good in this world is not actually good, because those who try to be good, what do they actually get? And how does it actually change the world? Because there's still people starving every day. Right now, at this very moment, there's children starving. So how does it actually benefit anyone, all the people who are good? Like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, all these people we say are good. Like, how did they actually change anything? We hold them up as examples, but what did it actually change? Martin Luther King. Okay, let's say he's a great guy and he did a lot for people. What did he actually change? Because everyone on the side of oppression is saying that things are worse now than they've ever been. That's what they all believe. Like, so in other words, did Martin Luther King actually achieve anything? Did Mother Teresa actually achieve anything if there's more children starving and suffering than when she was alive? Because that's a fact. Did Jesus achieve anything? Because there's more people who are lost in this world, more people who don't understand that the kingdom of heaven is within, more people who don't understand that to give your neighbor to treat your neighbor as yourself is the key to a life of equality and a life of love and a life of excellence. Most people are totally oblivious to the fact that giving as you want to receive starts with giving first and then receiving because of the giving. Most people are totally oblivious to that, so everyone wants to get first before they'll be willing to give, and then we have a whole world based on polarity of everyone trying to take. So if everyone tries to get before anyone gives, that is a poverty consciousness, if you want to use those terms. That is a state of lack. That is a statement of, I don't have, and therefore I must get. But if everyone starts with that starting point, how will we ever get to a world where there's experience of giving? And so that's why we have things like Christmas and birthdays, so we can pretend like we're giving people. But really, what are we giving? We're just giving a bunch of trinkets and BS that is designed very specifically just to drive our consumer society, which is based on the starting point of lack. So the whole peace, love, and light thing is a way to feel good while you're experiencing lack. Because even if you're at the top levels of this world, in terms of having, in terms of comfort and so forth, you're still in a state of lack, because like we were talking about yesterday, for those of you who believe we are all one in terms of connected, which is true. And yesterday I was just clarifying the point of the concept of absolute individuality as oneness, rather than oneness being lost in a sea of something that's more than you. So let me clarify that point. What's my perspective on that point? And a perspective I would suggest that you consider. So now you know this is the truth right now, what I'm about to say, because look at my face. See the enlightenment occurring right now? So I just want you to stare directly into my eyes and receive this pure enlightenment in the form of common sense. As beings, as who we are individuals. We make choices, we make decisions. But as a physical body, our physical body is physically one and connected to all other physical matter. It's in a system, a connected system. Same thing with our minds. Our consciousness is connected in a system, sort of like Wi-Fi. It's like you have the stuff on your computer, but that's connected through Wi-Fi to all the other computers, and there's like a Wi-Fi floating around. So that's your consciousness. Your consciousness is not you. Your consciousness is not who you are. Your consciousness is a state of being. You are aware of what you are conscious of. So you are awareness. That's who you are. And that awareness can take the form of observation, or it can take the form of participation, active participation. And mostly what we've done in this world is we've all resigned ourselves to be simply observers. And that is a trap. That is a spiritual trap, observation. Because in observation, you don't take responsibility for what you're observing. You just take it all in. And this is a problem, is that when we're born into this world, we're born into a state where we don't know how to actively participate from a point of total self-awareness. And so that is taken advantage of by parents and by advertisers and by the school system, etc., so that the child is sort of suppressed into a form of total observation of life, where things come and they just absorb everything, and they lose the ability over time to actually be aware of what they're choosing and not realize that they're choosing it. It's like you make a bunch of choices through observation unknowingly, and by the time you're 7 years old, you've basically decided every way you're going to respond to basically every situation, because there's very few unique situations that occur in your life. It's all just repetition of the same patterns that occurred when you were young. And so within that, your observations form the base programming of what you're going to then run as for the rest of your life. So the observation point is very dangerous. And then what do you learn in spirituality is just be the observer. Be the observer. Yeah, that's what somebody who wants to control you would tell you, because they would be the ones wanting to direct things and saying to everybody else, just observe, just let go, don't try to control anything, which is just saying, let me control it for you. So those who are saying just be the observers are like basically saying be the ultimate obedient slaves. That's what observation is. Be the ultimate obedient slave. Just observe your experience. Let go of any sort of form of wanting to control anything, because just be one with the universe. But then look around at the world. Like, if you really truly believe that you should just observe and let go of all suffering and attachment, then never complain about anything ever again. Don't ever have any desires. Think about it. Like, it's such an obvious mind fuck. The whole key to enlightenment is to let go of attachment to all desire. But then in your mind the whole time you're like, wow, I really desire that. I really desire the ability to let go of all attachment to all desires. It's like you're just mind fucking yourself. And then what you're doing is just creating a vocabulary and a thought pattern within yourself that generates a feeling where you feel like you've let go of attachment because you feel good. You feel like you've let go of the attachment of desire because you feel good. But you know deep down, if you're honest with yourself, that you're still desiring things. And you're still desiring to feel better. So that whole starting point is totally fucked, because the interesting thing is, I'm not saying there's a problem with wanting to improve and wanting to experience more good feelings and more bliss and all of that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's natural. But the way in which we're going about it is a way in which it's a pattern that we've learned through reading certain books and listening to certain people that is actually designed, that the reason those people are telling us that stuff is just so that we'll buy their stuff and pay them money to have them talk, and we'll listen to them. Understand, that's their starting point. Their starting point is not to actually help you, although they may have convinced themselves that that's the case, but they're not actually trying to help you. They're just trying to make money and survive, because that's what everyone's trying to do. That's what you're trying to do. And so the whole starting point of what you're doing is trying to improve. So you're reading all these books and you're just programming yourself with information that's actually designed to disempower you. Because if anyone actually told you the real truth, that would disempower them. And the thing is, I don't have a desire for power and control, ultimately. Because ultimately, I know that the world will be much better and my experience will be much better if I don't have to control everything. But the way the world is structured right now, if you don't take control for certain things, you're screwed. So it's a very interesting situation that we find ourselves in, because we have a system that's managing everything where a few control the resources and a few control the education system and a few control the economic system. But we're all participating in it. We're all allowing it. And we're complaining about it, but we're not willing to stand up and do what's necessary to do, because we're just being taught and programming ourselves to just be observers. So we're just observing the system and observing the consequences it has in our lives. And instead of realizing the simple, obvious truth, or the simple, obvious solution of stand up and do something about it. And that do something about it doesn't mean revolt, because that's just stupid. That's just when you have a low vocabulary, the only thing you know how to do is just to become violent and aggressive. If you have a high vocabulary, then stand up and do something means start speaking, start writing, become a politician, become a lawyer, become someone in the system who has authority, and that when you speak, people listen to you, and then you can direct things, and you don't have to control. The simple, obvious solution to getting more and experiencing more of what you want is not to let go of desire and attachment for those things. It's to take more responsibility in your life, to develop a more effective vocabulary, because vocabulary means your ability to deal effectively with things. Your vocabulary is your ability to think critically about things. People assume that they're thinking when the thought occurs in their head. That's not thinking. That's not real thinking. Real thinking is consideration. Real thinking is understanding the mechanics of something. Real thinking is letting go of any form of emotion or feeling towards something and looking at it within common sense. Looking at what's the best solution. Taking apart all of the points. Looking at them in detail. Considering them. Just like if you were going to build a skyscraper. Imagine if you were going to build a skyscraper and there was a structural support beam that needed to go in there to make the whole thing work, But you were like, but I don't like that. I don't like the color of it. I don't like the way it looks. I don't want that there. So then you put something else that's less effective, and then later on, the whole thing freaking collapses. That's your life. That's why nothing ever works out. And there's nobody watching this who has an ideal life. Because if you had an ideal life, you wouldn't be watching this. You'd be living your ideal life. No one has an ideal life on this planet. That's why your life doesn't work out. Because you're making decisions based on emotions and feelings. We're not realizing where those emotions and feelings are coming from. They're coming from ineffective programming that was put into you through your experiences when you were young, and your parents were not effective parents, and your environment was not effective, and your environment was not designed to give you a 100% effective, sound, integrated vocabulary that allows you to think with common sense in every situation. Because if you can think with common sense in every situation, and you can implement the best solution for that particular situation. See, here's the truth. The enlightenment's coming. You see it in my face, right? If you can think in every situation what's the best solution, and you can know it's the best solution because your thought process is based on an effective vocabulary, then what's going to occur is that you'll create things that will produce beneficial results. And so the result of that will be that you feel good and other people will feel good. So the trap is trying to feel good first. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't get before you give. You can't feel good. It's a lie. You got to feel like you have it before you can get it. No, that doesn't make any sense. Because if you could do that, then why do you need to get the thing? Think about it. If you can feel like you have $1 million and you can get the actual experience of it before you have the $1 million, then what's the purpose of getting the $1 million? If you're such a freaking spiritual master that you can just control your feelings and create the feeling of having the $1 million, then my question to you is, why do you want the $1 million? Isn't it that you want the $1 million because you think it's going to give you that feeling? So if you can already give it to yourself, why are you trying to get the $1 million? It doesn't make any sense. Why do you want that black Mercedes? You want the black Mercedes because you think it's going to make you feel good? It's not going to make you feel good. Because as soon as you get it, you're going to be like, all right, well, I have a black Mercedes now. Why would you want a black Mercedes? If I were you, I'd want a black Mercedes because you know that people will listen to you if you have the black Mercedes. And if you have the black Rolls Royce, people will definitely listen to you. And if you have a McLaren F1 in your freaking garage, people will definitely listen to you. That's why you should have those things. Be realistic, be self-honest. It's not to make you feel good. If you're still searching for trying to feel good, you haven't even stepped into the first step of self-mastery and self-awareness if you're still trying to search for feeling good. What that tells you, if you're still trying to search for feeling good, is that you were abused as a child. And when I say abused, I don't mean that your parents necessarily hit you or sexually abused you, although that happens to a lot of people. When I say abused, I mean you weren't supported effectively to understand how to get what you want out of life in a way that benefits other people, which would then mean that you would automatically feel good as a result of everything that you do. You wouldn't need to get a feeling of feeling good. You would receive the feeling of feeling good from what you are giving. But everyone's trying to get a feeling of feeling good first so that they can then give. But it's totally backwards. It doesn't make any sense. Look at the world. That's why you didn't have an effective education, because no one gave you one. No one gave you an effective education. We live in a survival-based system of competition and struggle where everyone's just trying to survive and everyone is programmed to believe that you have to get yours before you can give it to anybody else. But what you don't realize is that there are billions of people, if not hundreds of millions at least, who suffer on a daily basis at levels you cannot imagine. You cannot really imagine. You literally can't imagine. I mean, I've been to South Africa. I've walked on the landfills where there are children living in the landfill, playing in the landfill, building little tiny houses for them to live in on the landfill, using the trash as like their shoes and stuff. I've seen it. And I'm sure if you've gone to India, you've seen worse. I've never been to India. It would be interesting to go and see that. That's extreme poverty. And that's not a product of their thinking. It's the product of your thinking. Because you're trying to feel good and you're not saying, how can I today do something that's going to impact that system that runs our world? And you may not know what to do, but the first thing you could do is say, well, how can I increase my ability to think effectively about this problem? And how can I do it in a way where it ensures my survival as well? Because if I don't have my survival insured, and I don't have the ability to make lots of money so that people listen to me, then I'll never have any influence whatsoever on the system that we live in. But if I can get my survival, if I can get my survival needs met, if I can develop my ability to think in such a way that I can not only survive, but I can get a lot of things that other people would perceive as me being a person who is successful, so the signs of wealth, which I would also enjoy having, because there's no reason why I shouldn't have the best car. There's no reason I shouldn't have the best of everything. And especially if your starting point is to actually do what is best for everybody, then you present yourself as that, as the person who knows how to get the right things in the system, meaning you play the game to its fullest because you have the effective vocabulary. You understand the rules of the game. If you can do that, people will listen to you. That's why, if those of you who've listened to Your Wish is Your Command, when Kevin says, who do you listen to? I'm just parking here. He's not saying listen to me. He's saying you need to understand that who do you listen to is the primary point that you need to focus on. So who would listen to you? If you're talking all day about how you're trying to manifest things and you're not manifesting things, no one's going to listen to you. So who's going to listen to me? People who know that there's something wrong with the world we live in, know that there's something wrong with the law of attraction and all this stuff, know that there's kernels of truth within it, know that there's seeds within it that are teaching us how to create realities, but also knowing there's something missing because within you, you feel like the self-interest point alone is not enough. So it's like, yeah, but why do I want the black Mercedes? I don't actually want I understand as an exercise, the black Mercedes, I should try to get that so I can learn how to manifest. But if you're asking yourself, but I don't really want what do I actually want? And if you're the kind of person who's like, I really want a world where there's total harmony and peace amongst all people, that's why you would listen to me, because that's what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to teach you how to get a black Mercedes. Getting a black Mercedes is easy if you know how to make money. And knowing how to make money is just about knowing psychology. That's all it is. It's understanding human psychology, putting on a smile, saying the right things, having a product, prospecting, sharing the product, selling the product, doing the numbers. It's a very simple system that you can learn, and there's books on that. I don't need to teach you that. If you really want to learn that, your problem is you don't have the vocabulary and you don't know how to change your thought processes. That's what I can help you with. That's what I can help you with. And it's not me doing it. It's TechnoTutor. That's what TechnoTutor does, is it supports you to change your thought processes. Now, I'm not going to go into detail because the detail of how it works is not something I can explain in a video. That's something that would be explained to you if a TechnoTutor distributor were to sit down with you and show you how it works. So I'm not trying to sell you TechnoTutor. I'm just telling you, if you are interested in actually becoming more effective in your thinking, in other words, if you understand that being able to think more effectively, becoming more intelligent, will allow you to survive more effectively, will allow you to create more things in your life, and therefore other people will see you as an example of success. And if you understand that the key to solving the problems in this world is more effective communication, and you understand that the root of all those things is vocabulary, then you would understand why what I do would support you to achieve those goals. But even if you're not ready for that, that's okay. Listen to what I'm saying. The key to changing the problems in this world is not to go and preach to the child starving in Ethiopia that they need to change their thinking. It's for you to change your thinking so that you can stand up as a leader in this world and change the nature of the systems so that they allow us to give as we want to receive. That would alleviate the pressure of survival so that we don't feel like we have to get just in order to exist. If we had a system that gave to everyone equally so that our basic human rights were guaranteed on a daily basis, food, shelter, water, etc., then imagine what we could do as human beings. Now, those of you who are sitting there right now and going, but that's communism. It's not communism. And you're only fearing that because you are afraid of losing your self-interested position. So for those of you who feel that way right now, listening to me, listen to what I'm saying to you. In order for us to do this, in order for us to change the system, we all have to be, those of us who understand, have to become extremely wealthy. Have to, in the system that exists right now. So if you're interested right now in playing that game and becoming very wealthy and experiencing all of that, and then also using it in a way that your children, your grandchildren and their children and so forth, future generations, won't have to worry about their own survival, because that survival game is only going to get more competitive. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get harder to do. So you can't guarantee. Think about it. If you're not elite right now, what's the odds that your great-great-grandchildren will be elite? Very unlikely, unless the system changes so that everybody is born into a situation of basically wealth and having everything taken care of. Isn't that what you want for yourself and your children and your grandchildren? Isn't that what you want? Well, it's the only way you can guarantee that your children and your grandchildren and your grandchildren's children, blah, 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 all the way down to 100 generations. What's the only way you can guarantee that they'll all be taken care of? It's not just by you building a business right now and that business carrying on, because how many businesses exist today that existed in the 1700s? How many businesses today exist that existed in the 1800s? How many businesses exist today that existed in the 1900s? Very few. There are some, but very few. And so, in other words, if you think about the natural course of things, power is consolidated because the system is one of lack. The system is one of take before you give. So if we adjust that, we can ensure that all people from here until the system, once the system is changed and into perpetuity, everyone is born into a system and an experience of being given. And then imagine the world that could be created if everybody has, and there's no pressure of survival, and the cutthroat competition is removed. And then competition becomes an expression of how can we be even better? How can we go even further together by cooperating? But that's only going to happen if enough of us develop the vocabulary of success and integrate it at a physical level. Because to know and not to do is not to know. So if you're not doing, it means you ain't knowing. If you're not doing, you don't know. So how do you get the knowing so that you have the doing? Oh, Rocco's telling me it's time to go. Yeah, I'm done, man. Come on down. That's the point for today. Leave some comments, leave some feedback. If you're one of those people who's like, how do I do what Cameron's talking about? How do I get into that position? I know there's something wrong with this world and I want to become more effective. Then let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's gather other people around. Let's create a mastermind. That's what I want to do. Okay? If you're with me, let me know. Talk later.